Hello and welcome back to the Paper Soprano podcast. You made it. You're here and welcome back. Yeah, guys, welcome. I think today is episode what? I can't remember, maybe 43? No, 42? So we've been at this for 42 days, you guys, and we're gonna keep going at it until I don't do it anymore. So, today I have an interesting story to tell you that literally just happened, and it was one of those really organic moments that you can't make this shit up, okay? So it's like, okay, cool. Here we are, and we're going through a bunch of papers, right? You know that one spot in your house or your apartment where you just keep a bunch of papers, whether it's papers about insurance or papers about, work or papers about school. There's just a bunch of papers. It's mail, it's notes, it's birthday cards, it's paper, right? So I haven't gone through that pile of things in a very long time. And, I really just needed to go through it. So I started deconstructing one of my little baskets that I keep all of my paper things in. And I started doing this a little bit yesterday, but I didn't finish it, so it's kind of been strewn in a semicircle around my living room area. And, yeah, so it started a little bit rough, and Mom, if you're listening to this, sorry, I was stressing out about this piece of insurance paper that I got. It was about one of my insurance plans, and it's just annoying. And if any of you are on Obamacare or Medicare or Medicaid, I can never remember which one it is, God. But it's just a hot freaking mess all the time. And nobody wants to sit here and listen to a podcast about health insurance. So I'm definitely not going to talk about that, but I will say that it is a hot mess, and as much as I hate calling people on the phone, I would pay real money to speak to some real live person on the phone versus trying to navigate these just unbelievably not functioning websites or unbelievably ridiculous automated phone call things that it's call Fidelis, we're here for you, and you're like, cool, awesome, and you're calling them, and literally every trail, every call number is press 7 if you need this, and every one that you follow just says, at the end of it you go through 15 minutes of sitting on the phone going through all of these options, and it's at the end of each single one it's well, did you know that you can go online to our website and check it out there, and just basically you just wasted 15 minutes. And it's oh, did I? I thought I was calling so that I could figure this out, but I guess not. So that's pretty fun. But anyway, so I'm going through all these papers, right? And I'm going through them because sometimes, for me, it helps me to just go through all of the physical things that I have in my life, and that helps me mentally be in a better place, if that makes any sense. Knowing where all of my things are is a big desire for me, which is I think why I want to throw so many things away, because having extraneous things just adds to the pile, and I just don't want to have that many things. If that makes any sense. Having too many options for clothes or shoes, or having, extra stuff sitting in the pantry, or papers everywhere, or extra books that I know I'm not going to read or something. I'd like to purge those things of my life. So I do the same thing with papers, and honestly, I should probably watch Marie Kondo, because I think it's the same thing where it's I think, I've never seen Marie Kondo, but I know this is kind of the same vibe. Tell me if I'm wrong, but you take everything that you have, right, and you put it on the floor or somewhere where you can see all of it at once, and then you start going through it, and obviously papers are not gonna, Like I know the whole thing with Marie Kondo is like you throw out what doesn't give you joy, and I know papers aren't necessarily, they don't bring anyone joy. Like who cares? But it does bring me joy to know where these things are. So I've been organizing them, and specifically like tax information and all that stupid stuff that you just, you have to have organized or else it'll make you upset later. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing all of this for future Heidi. I'm not doing this for myself right now. This is not a fun task, but I'm doing this for future Heidi so that she can be like, oh, you know what? That past Heidi, oh, she is really something. So I'm getting rid of all these stupid papers and just like things like envelopes and things that I've chucked into this basket at one point or another throughout like the past, I want to say like full calendar year. Like I have not touched this basket of papers in such a long time. And in this basket of papers happens to also be not only just like papers about lame things, like bills and stuff, but like papers that are containing nice things, like music. And there's actually a surprising amount of music in this basket that I was uncovering. And some of it was like little helpful, like little booklets of music that I'm probably going to want to perform on future recitals, like some oh, I don't remember. It's over there. It's sitting on the floor. But some cool stuff that I know I've picked up from like thrift shops here and there or like free piles at the music building. And the other thing that was in there was, of course, going back even farther, like some opera scores. I think The Merry Widow was in there. Some large choral numbers that I've done. St. Matthew Passion was in there. Leafed through it really quick. It's always beautiful to look through that score because we put so much time into the St. Matthew, you guys. Like, if you did the St. Matthew Passion at Fredonia University, I think we did it in like 2014, 2015. I don't know, sometime in between 2013 and 2017 is when we did it. But if you did that piece of music with Dr. Gerald Gray, then you know what that score means. Like, God, it's just seeing it, like I put a bunch of tabs in it. Like I treated that like those markings that he would give us. This man would write out markings for double chorus and all of like obviously all of the orchestra and stuff, and he would sit down and write all of these things out and then scan every freaking page and send it to us, and they were these insane detailed markings of like make this quarter note a half or an eighth note and then put an eighth rest and you're putting the final consonant here for like literally every freaking phrase. Like I'm not even joking. Like, and phrase markings and couplets and pronunciations and modifications of the vowel and like just specific markings like, you know, emphasis and word structure, word stress, like everything you could think of is written in that St. Matthew score, that Baron writer that I have. Anything, like if there's a fire here, I'm grabbing that. Like I'm not even joking. It's it's like a diary and it's like a photo album. It's everything. um oh God. And yeah, it's really interesting to have that piece of music. And what I also have, I found my choral folder, like my binder, that I would keep all of my other pieces of choral music in. And I also found the Singet dem Herrn ein neues Lied, which is a Bach motet. It's BWV 225. And that this piece of music like the St. Matthew was insane. It was like running a marathon, you know? It was really a big, big task. But this motet that we did, also with Dr. Gray, um, was incredible in such a different way because this was a small, we did it with the chamber choir at Fredonia. And I think this was really one of the pieces that shaped me not only as like a choral singer, but it did teach me pretty much everything I needed to know about choral singing. And I feel like I knew a lot coming in. Um, but it also just kind of taught me about how much effort really needs to go into learning and performing a piece and how much detail there needs to be. And I have treasured this piece. Like, I'm getting choked up right now. I have not gotten choked up on this podcast one time. Um, but this piece of music is extremely important to me. And I have listened to it probably like since we performed it. Like not even just counting all of the times that I was rehearsing it by myself or looking it up or whatever. I have probably listened to this piece of music from the time we performed it until now easily 100 times. Like, the piece itself is so enjoyable that I think it really added such another layer to learning this piece of music. Because if you're learning a really hard piece of music and it's like, it's really intense or it's really involved and difficult and you work on it really hard when you're working on it in a scholastic setting and whatever, um, that's rewarding for sure. But when the piece is also just so fun and beautiful and just, it's just so fun. It's like, if you have never listened to this piece of music, like, just, you've just gotta. You just have to. It's stunning. The polyphony is so pronounced. You can hear absolutely every line cutting through. You can hear all of these melodies that are so independent yet so cohesive. And Bach was just an absolute mastermind. Like the guy was crazy. And in this motet, and I don't know a ton of other motets, I must admit, but I'm a little bit partial to this one because of, even when there's melismas and you have the voices going, melismatically with like if you don't know what a melisma is, just long extended, a long phrase where there's no words, you're just on one vowel, but there's multiple notes like in succession. Um, it's just these lines with these long melismas are still so prevalent, and the melody really just cuts through. And then also, Bach is like a genius because when one line takes over and has this, this introduction of a new idea or a new theme, the other voices just naturally come back and they cadence, maybe all together, maybe two of them cadence together, or all at different times. But they all enter so seamlessly and they all exit so seamlessly. And everything that's going on, I have all of these markings of, because this piece is for two choirs, and I have all of these markings of just look ahead, look ahead, look ahead, because it's like you just cannot stop with this. Even though you have a couple measures of rests, your entrance is coming in sooner than you think, because it's almost surprising within the texture how a new idea is presented. And you have some da 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 da, and it just like keeps going, and then all of a sudden you have bum, die Kinder ziehen sein Frö, and all of a sudden it just comes in, and you're like, oh, there's a new theme, and everybody else kind of finishes their idea and gets on it, and joins you at some point. But it's like, oh. And I sat down when I found this, And I was like, ugh, what a special treat. What a nice Wednesday treat to just sit down and sing through this Bach. And I did. I sat down and I sang through the whole motet, and oh my god, what a funny experience that was. Because, I've sung through it from memory a couple of times, like if I'm sitting in a car with someone, or, we're you know how if you're a musician, you like trade pieces of music back and forth. You're like, oh my god, you gotta hear this. Or like, oh no, 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 you gotta hear this. Or like, dude, oh my god, listen to this one. Like, I am not ashamed to, like, if it's getting late at a party, like, and people are like really still feeling it, I will literally pull out this Bach and I'll be like, dude, you guys gotta hear this. Oh man. But like, it's a bop, dude. It's a total bop. And you just have to listen to it. I'll put the name of it in the bio, the description down below. But like, I was singing it just now. And first of all, like, the joy that comes with revisiting an old piece is something that I wish on all of my bestest, most greatestest friends is. Ew. Seriously though, I wish it on all of my best friends to just dig through your collection today, or like whenever you're listening to this, make it a point to, at some point in the future, dig through your collection. And by your collection, I mean whatever you have saved that you're like, I can't get rid of this score, or like, I can't get rid of this choral piece, or I don't know, this printout that that I used for this class, or whatever, I sung it for a concert. Go get it. Like, literally, go and get it. And sing something you haven't sung in years. And it is surreal. Really, it is so surreal. And sing it from the score. Don't sing it from memory. Look at what you wrote down years ago. Like, look at it. And it is surreal to see that, because looking at my markings, and not the ones that Dr. Gray gave, because those are very astute and like scholarly and very meaningful. But looking at my own markings, like, I wrote in solfege syllables for some of this stuff, which is crazy to me because it's just insane to me. It's insane. And I didn't write it in for all of it, but for some hard passages, like for some of the melismas, I literally wrote in the solfege syllables, and I haven't done that in a very long time. But it shows because, I was really, at the time of learning this, I would consider myself behind in my music reading abilities. I didn't start reading music until high school. And even then, obviously, like when you start reading music as like a freshman or sophomore in high school, I felt like my brain kind of just went on to survival mode because we sang a lot of repertoire in my high school career, and I couldn't read the music, and I was hopelessly, nervous and just anxiety ridden in high school, and still am today. But like, I totally understood solfege. That just made a lot of sense to me. I had good ears, and I was able to latch on to the idea of solfege, movable do solfege. That's what my teacher taught us, and Norm Zogabe, if you're listening, hey, thanks. I did learn a lot from you, clearly, because I still used it in this Bach cantata, but it was kind of like a memorization tool. Like, I had nothing to grab onto as a young singer. And, yeah, I had a bunch of solfege abilities, so I would just solfege everything. And now that I'm saying that, I remember my teacher, Dan Ehas, he would kind of laugh at me when he would look at my scores. I remember, like, not in a mean way or anything like that, but he would be like, oh, you wrote in all the solfege, huh? And I'm like, yeah, because I can't play the piano and I can't read music. So I was like, I pretty much had to just give myself a starting pitch and then figure out all of the intervals by ear to learn music. And that sounds horrible, but that's what I did. And as my piano chops got better, they're still not great at all, but they're definitely better than they were. And as my reading abilities got better, they're still not super great, but are significantly better. Oh my God. Um, I didn't really use the solfege anymore. And also, when I came here to Stony Brook, we started using a different method. We started using fixed do solfege. And if you don't know the difference between movable do and fixed do, girl, I am not going to get into that because there is some controversy and you could look it up, okay? You have Google, okay? So use it. um but anyway, so I stopped using that, and it's so funny to look back and see that on this score. Oh my God, it's like a time machine. Oh, it's crazy. And I'm noticing very clearly that I did not use IPA to write out any of this German. And, normally I would now, use IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, for those who don't know, to read this German or, whatever. Right now, my German is okay, so I can just kind of read it and know how these things are pronounced. But, sometimes I would write out like these weird phonetic pronunciations of things, and it's so funny to be like just these weird things that only I would understand what they what they mean. And it's like reading your diary. And oh my God, I just turned to this page where I remember a very specific lesson, like a very specific day, a moment that we had with Dr. Gray, where the soprano ones in obviously the first choirs, because there's two choirs, and the first sopranos had an issue because Dr. Gray wanted us to trill in the middle section of the piece, which is considerably slower, contrasting than the first lively section and then the final very triumphant section. So this middle section, it's very slow, and it's like da da dee da ba. Don't judge my singing, like God forbid. But I wrote here in very faint writing, trill from above, underlined above with an exclamation point. And I wrote out the trill. And normally I would just write, TR period above that. But literally all of us, none of us have done at that point. We were at a point where there was like, I think 4 of us, 4 sopranos. None of us had done a Baroque trill. And it was just so crazy. Like we had to have it explained to us. And I remember Dr. Gray getting so frustrated. He was like, I do not understand, ladies. Like, it's just yada, yada, ya ba 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 ba. It's from above. You trill from above. Yada da 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 da. And I'm like, and we were all struggling so hard with it. And obviously we got it, but I remember him writing it on the board. I remember him demonstrating it like that, like 100 times. And, we were getting it eventually, but because, there is a weird thing for young singers. When you think about a trill, it's like, you just think of a wider vibrato or a whole step vibrato versus like a normal half step or less vibrato, and you just kind of do it, but I don't know, I can't really explain it. I mean, all of my singer friends right now are cringing because I'm trying to explain a trill in a really bad way, and if I'm doing it in a wrong way, please correct me, because now I'm the most familiar with Baroque trills and not with like romantic trills or trills that are in like French opera or things like that. And it's because of this day. And it literally has stuck with me, that lesson, that very specific, like, he was not planning on having to spend 10 minutes explaining a Baroque trill. But we were the only section who had to do it. And it was just so funny to me. Like, I couldn't believe that it was like, he was so like, how do you not know this? And we were all like, I don't know. And now looking back, I can see it from his point of view, like being like, oh my God, I can't believe these idiots don't know how to trill. Like, what the heck? Who am I teaching? Like, you guys are in college for music and you don't know how to Baroque trill? Like, what is wrong with you all? But I don't know. Maybe other schools, like in high school, I don't know, like teach you how to do that before you get to college. But it's all about your experiences, if you're not exposed to something as a kid or as a young adult, like, you're just never gonna know what it is. Like, there's just no getting around it. If you don't seek it out or you're not exposed to it, it's so funny. But I loved that, seeing that note and seeing so much of the attention to detail on the couplets, the da dum ya dum, like everything, all of those markings, even seeing there was a line of ascending. I'm gonna try to find it. There was ascending eighth notes, I think, and it was going up. Oh, yes. So, they're all, no, they were not ascending. They were all on the same pitch. So if you're looking on at the score, I'm on page 13, measure 106. Second system. So yeah, it's just, Singet dem Herrn ein neues, and he made us very specifically write these markings. They're accents, but each one gets a little bit bigger because they're separate, like, he could have easily just said, okay, crescendo all of these, but he didn't want that because the penultimate one, he did not want emphasize because it was an unimportant word, is ein, and that just means like a or one. And he wanted very specifically each one to get louder, but not the one. You know what I mean. And he was so specific about markings. Everything was so detailed, and I just feel like it was such a huge part of communication. And looking back, I'm so enamored by the attention to detail here, and just absolutely everything that we did. And oh my God, I can't recommend this enough. If you're looking for some kind of, reminiscent serotonin, go ahead, girl, get out an old score and do this. Look up some stuff that you've been letting collect dust these past few years. And yeah, dude, relive some old times. We've got so many markings here. Even just a marking that I wrote, like, listen to the basses, or same pitch here, or cut through, cut through the texture. So many specific things that we wrote in, and yeah, he made us write singing, when you're singing the theme, and then I put a star next to that, which to me means, like, sing the theme means sing it out, sing forever, sing your heart out. And then less/detached. And that's for the final section, the the Lobet den Herrn. And oh God, it's so marked up. Everything's amazing. I have markings that are like arrows and stuff because it just went by so fast. I just needed like a, a reminder that this note actually goes down here. Like it's a similar pattern, but it changes and you have to be aware of it. Or turn the page now, you know. Look up. I have written in all caps with an exclamation point. Like look up, as in like look at Dr. Gray, because I would forget to look up when. I don't even know why. It's on a held, tied note. Probably just because I needed the cutoff or something. But it was so hard to look up in this piece. God, I was staring. I was literally like, my eyes were buried in this score because it was going by so fast. It was in, if you had to feel it in one, and, you know, it was just beautifully quick. Like, electrifying. And just amazing. Oh, God, so exhilarating. And those 16th notes, those running 16ths, were like, especially in the tenors. I feel like Bach wrote this tenor line just right in that money zone, you know what I mean, for tenors. Like, it really cut through. And some of the stuff, I will admit, some of the stuff I didn't necessarily love singing, like, it was a little low on the staff, and I felt like it was hard in the tessitura for sopranos to cut through, because while yes, like sopranos sonically, like the sound does naturally cut through high or more because just of the way that the sound is, it's just higher in frequency. I think. Don't come for me, Mr. Yas. But yeah, some of it was like lower middle of the staff, and I have cut through written, and that's hard to do, especially on an ah vowel. Like, you know, I'm not an expert, but it was just so much fun. Gosh, yeah, wow. So that was what I've just gone through, and I do miss choral singing quite a bit, because the program here at Stony Brook is so small, and you know, there is an undergrad chorus here, but they rehearse a lot, and I know that they're doing what they want to do, and I really respect the director, Shoshana Hershkowitz. She's wonderful, and I respect what she's trying to do for these undergrads, but you know, after an experience like this where I was with Dr. Gray and we sang, ooh, God, scared the crap out of me. Oh, it wouldn't be a podcast without the dogs. But after singing with Dr. Gray and singing, you know, just so many difficult pieces, so many involved pieces with really, really, really talented singers. And not to say that the ones here at Stony Brook in the undergrad program are not talented, but a lot of them are non-majors, a lot of them are singing because they love singing, and that's wonderful. But I'm singing because I love singing, and also because I really, really care about the details, and I really care about the sound, and I really care about specifics, and I really care about, you know, what other people are doing. And I know Shoshana is doing great work, and she's fantastic. But sometimes you just crave that craziness. Like, I crave that Dr. Gray energy with all these markings and all of the difficult repertoire. You know, I sang a lot of repertoire, varied repertoire at my time at Fredonia, and I love a lot of different kinds of music in terms of choral repertoire. Spirituals with Dr. Huff, and, you know, women's choir pieces, 3 parts, and, you know, kind of Americana type feel songs, and Bring Me a Little Water, Sylvie, those kinds of things. And I loved them. And even like contemporary pieces, you know, I think Dr. Deemer wrote a piece for us at one point, or, you know, far out stuff, or new things, or very ethereal type things, contemporary stuff. I'm all about it. But sometimes, this is just my opinion, so please don't come for me, or do, I don't care, whatever your prerogative is, I guess. Sometimes I just crave the athleticism of Bach and the detail-oriented, masterworks, which are, debatable for sure. But man, I've had some experiences with really difficult music and intense, intense choral singing. Like where you'd go into rehearsal and you would leave sweating and like my shoulder would hurt because I was holding up the music and my pencil would be run down and like my eraser was gone. And I would go right into the practice room after choir. And that's the kind of choral singing that I've always wanted, is like the kind of choral singing that you have to really practice before rehearsal. And sometimes I didn't have to practice music before choir. And I remember Dr. Gray, this is actually reminding me of another lesson that he taught us, which was spend as much time as you need to learn the piece. If it means that all you need is like 20 minutes or something, then fine, go ahead. Spend 20 minutes and learn the dang piece. But if that means for you, unfortunately, that you have to spend 3 hours, a day practicing this or learning this or whatever, then that's what you need to do, and that's your commitment to the piece. And there were some really, really fine singers at my time at Fredonia who were excellent readers. They could play the piano. They were well adjusted and just like, they had a good upbringing, musical upbringings. And I'm convinced that some of them just like straight up did not practice and came in and could read this music. And good for you, dude. Like, I'm happy for you, for real. I think that's incredible. And a lot of the times now I'm experiencing that when I have to sing at church or, when I have to sing certain things. I'll obviously practice, but sometimes I need less time to learn it than I did back at Fredonia because, girl, I was that person who needed many hours to learn something. I just needed so much time, and I took it. I definitely sat there and like struggled through it and like wrote in all my solfege syllables, girl, and it was painstaking and it was horrible, but I couldn't play it for myself, and I didn't know that you could slow down YouTube videos back then, so I was like, I'm either going to input it on Finale and play it back to myself so that I can learn it by ear, or I'm going to write in all the solfege syllables and plunk it out on the piano and then, learn the rhythm and sing it by reading it through solfege syllables. So the whole lesson there was just like, you have to just know your score, and you have to know what you're singing, and whether or not that takes you can like skate by on a less work, that's totes fine as long as you're getting the result that is desired. But then also, if you can't bring that to the table, like there's no shame in that. You just have to put in the work that will bring you to the level of what everybody needs to contribute to the group. And that was kind of intimidating for sure, because I was definitely one of those people who had to put in more time. But it was also kind of, nice to hear that he acknowledged that I wasn't just like able to come in and read it. Like he knew that people all came from different walks of life and stuff, even though he really did hold us to an extremely high standard. And the fact that he held us there so fervently was the reason why we were so good, because he just did not accept mediocrity. And he knew that we should not also accept mediocrity. And, yeah. It was just such an amazing, amazing time, and I miss choral singing like you would not believe. Like, especially now, like, if you're listening to this at some point in the future, it is January of 2021, and we are fresh out of a pandemic, or not, oh my god. We are still in a pandemic, baby. And there is no hope for choral singing, real choral singing, or even just ensemble singing, or a duet, or like standing in the same room as someone while also singing for a very long time. There's no hope for that for a very long time. And, it just makes you miss it even more. So, singing this today and literally sitting on the floor in my living room, singing a Bach motet by myself, girl, it was a little bit sad, not gonna lie, because I was like, oh, maybe there's some way that I can do this online, or like I can, have my friends all record their part and like we can sing it all together. But it's like, no, I'm sorry. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to taint the memory of this piece by trying to bring it into, like, to be quite frank, 2020 mediocre recording processes. Like, I just don't want to do that. And I think that in the future, I will hopefully sing this piece again in real life and be able to relive this with actual human people. But until that day, just like looking through it like a diary is all that I can do. Which is, it's sad, but like also it's fine, Like, I think you should do it too. Even though there is a chance that you could be sad, like, there's a chance that you could be sad in any circumstance. So, like, I'm learning that I still have to do things even though there's a chance that I could be sad. Because sometimes I try and, like, avoid at all costs, like, any feelings of discomfort. And I end up just doing nothing because there's discomfort in everything, just like there's good things in everything. So, I've kind of been like choked up this entire podcast, if you haven't noticed. And, just because I'm remembering something that's a little bit difficult to remember doesn't mean that it's not worth remembering. And I think that it's really important to, not let those memories die, like those things that we've experienced. We should relive them. We should look back at things sometimes and see what you've done. Because looking back, I was like, wow, I have really come so far as a singer, for God's sake. Like, look at what I had to do a couple years ago. Like, look at what I had to put myself through. And I got a good result. I was happy with it, but like, look what I had to go through. And now, if I put that same energy into the things that I'm working on now, think about where I'm going to be in 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. Like, it's incredible to like look back at the path. And it's inspiring to think about the people who have helped you get to where you are today, and I'm forever grateful for Dr. Gray. He changed my life, And I will never ever forget that. And if any of you are listening to this and I completely like have not said anything about this, but during my time at Fredonia, Dr. Gray passed away from pancreatic cancer, and it was very difficult and very traumatizing to like see someone who was such a huge part of your life suffer. And but in a way, I think it almost immortalizes this music for me and my colleagues and my friends even more. And it's not something that we all talk about. So if you're listening to this and you've experienced someone. Hold on, I'm sorry. If you're listening to this and you have experienced in some way death or the death of a colleague or a teacher, know that you're not alone in that, and you are not the memories that you have and everything that you've learned from this person. It is sad for sure that you're not going to be able to learn anything else from them or see them or speak to them again. But in these pieces of music that you have pieces of music from these people. You have notes from them. You have their spirit written on music right in front of you. And it's amazing. And every time you go back and you sing it and you relive those moments, those teachable moments, those wonderful, amazing moments, those will never go away. Like, they just never will. So I'm sorry if this is a little bit of a downer. I don't mean it to be. I really do wholeheartedly wish to express to you all that reliving these pieces of music, especially with people who might not be here or who might not be in your life anymore, is so, so important, even though there's a lot of emotions attached to them. You might not want to listen to those songs that you and your ex-boyfriend used to listen to. You might not want to listen to, that one musical or that one opera that you and your ex-best friend were in together, and all of a sudden you had something terrible happen to your friendship and now you can't look at the music the same way. You might not be able to listen to Christmas music or a certain genre of music or, whatever, a certain song, anything, because of a traumatic experience or emotions that are attached to it. And I totally, 100,000% understand that. And I think that what I'm trying to say here is those things, all of those things that happened after you loved that music, after you've already, fallen in love with that music, or you've had some kind of positive emotional response to it. Like, the negative things usually happen afterwards, and you might feel like that music has been stolen from you. Like, and I can't listen to that anymore. Oh my God, I can't hear that. I cannot listen to that. Like, if you're divorced and you have a wedding song, like, I get it. Like, I've never been divorced and I've never been married, but like, that must be so difficult. But you picked that song because you loved it. And you chose, that musical. You chose to be in this choir. You chose to sing that opera role. You chose all of those things at one point in your life. And it's interesting, if anything, to just look back on it and say, wow, look at how far I've come. And yes, there are emotional baggages to everything, whether or not it's like a little doggy bag worth or an entire suitcase. There's emotional baggage with everything. So you might as well just relive the best parts of it. And some music is just too good to write off completely because of some kind of emotional baggage. Oh man, you guys! Okay, I'm gonna stop here because things are heading south for me in terms of like the crying department. um, yeah, if this podcast was a little bit heavy for you, I apologize. I highly encourage you to listen to any of the other episodes that I have created before this, because I think they're a little bit lighter. But like I said before, in every single one of these episodes, listen, you guys, like, this podcast has been created so that I can express myself on a daily basis. And I am not going to censor anything. Like, I'm not going to change any of my emotions. Like, this is literally like a verbal diary. So thank you to all of you who understand that and who are sensitive to the fact that, people have emotions, and I'm not trying to be any polished radio host here. Like, I'm not trying to be that way. I'm not trying to be a therapist. I'm not trying to be anyone besides myself. And right now, in this moment, this is how I feel. So, and that's okay. So that's another thing that I'm trying to express here is, like, I am totally valid in feeling these things. And so are you. Whatever you're feeling right now, today, yesterday, whatever you feel in a week from now, like, that is supposed to be there. And if you run from it, then you're just gonna have to deal with it later. Like, and it might come through in a bad way. You wanna feel things, and you wanna feel them, and then you wanna move on and make room, because guess what, honey? Like, you're gonna have to feel something soon after that, and after that, and for the rest of your life, because your life is full of emotions and feelings and reactions to things, and it's best to just let them be and feel them while you have them, so that you can move on and make room for growth and reparations and, all of the things that come with time. So thank you to all of you out there who are listening. I always joke, like, all 12 of you, but thank you to all of you who are listening and who understand what the point of this podcast is. I appreciate you, and I think it's really cool and unique that we're able to share this space, this time space, and have a little conversation about things that you might not have had a thought about otherwise. So, that being said, if you enjoy this podcast, go ahead, subscribe. Go ahead, leave me a comment. Tell me how ridiculous I am for reliving the past, sitting on the floor of my living room today on this fine Wednesday afternoon. And leave a like if you want to. Obviously, I'm not trying to change anybody's world here or get famous or anything. So if you really feel compelled, do like and subscribe. And yeah, you guys, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whenever you're listening to this. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for listening. I feel like I don't say that enough, and I'm a little bit blasé about the whole, like, thanks for listening, all 12 of you, but, like, I really do appreciate it, and I think it's really sweet, so thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna go. I never know how to end these podcasts. Okay, love ya, mean it, bye. Thanks for listening, you guys, seriously, bye.